All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Green White Checkered TV. Tonight we have the Dark Horse Racing Area 51 Indy Series here tonight at Kansas Speedway. 125 laps is our scheduled race distance, about a mile and a half length track. And Steve, I say we're familiar with this one with the open wheel, or I should say with the full fendered cars, excuse me, where this is a very popular track to really rim ride, use that third lane if you will, kind of use that higher banking and try to make a little bit more happen through there. I don't know if that's going to be the case for tonight with these Indy cars. However, it looks like it's going to be pretty racy, but I think we're going to see some of those typical things that we see week in and week out. Drivers having to fight that aero push, try to find that clean air on the front wings of these cars here. And I think also our leaders probably going to be pretty aggressive trying to protect that inside line here tonight.
Yeah, definitely. I think that may be what happened at Kansas the last time, but I can't remember for sure if we were here before. I think we were. But you mentioned about the banking. People that are not familiar with this track, it has what's called progressive banking, which means that as you go farther towards the outside of the track, there's a higher degree of banking, which makes the car stick better on the higher you go on the track. So with the NASCAR Cup cars, it's usually a parade around the high line. But with these cars, I suspect that you're going to still have them bottom feeding because these things stick so well. You're not going to have a problem with them pushing into the wall too badly coming off the turns on the inside. But I think it'll be interesting to see if the guys on the outside can hang better than what we've seen at some of the other fast tracks.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And before we get into everything here, let's go ahead and pull up our standings here coming into tonight, Steve. So this is going to be race number 5. Last week, obviously, at Worldwide Technology Raceway, or Gateway as a lot of us know it, and shook up the running order a little bit. It's allowed the gap to close from the lead. Scott Rankin now a 14-point lead over Craig Forsyth now. Nick DeGroot drops back into that third position. Eric Peterson, Jim Brooks round out our top 5. And that's obviously, I think, one of the more frustrated drivers probably with that. Somehow still +3 overall, though. Matt Wagner moves himself up to 6 points after that race. They got Jeff Heisong and Eric Schaus rounding out our top 8. And then 9th and 10th, Alec Coates and Anders Arhus. So, unfortunately, missing the race, as you see a big drop there for Charles Seed. However, I believe all of these drivers do have a drop week, so that would obviously be most likely Charles's. So we'll see. Obviously, it's a 12-race season. With the one drop for the worst race of that season. However, no playoffs here with the Indy Series. So right now we got a 14-point lead here between the top 2, and then 23 between first through third. And it's a pretty big gap to fourth there with Eric Peterson 52 back. So right now looking like early on here at a 3-horse race. But I mean, one of these drivers to get on a hot streak, and that ranking is going to change very quickly. And so for some race info, Steve, besides the fact that this is going to be a 125 lap race, fuel window always critical here tonight. Sounding like mid 30s or so, probably about 33, 35 most likely. For those that are having to kind of lead the field, be a little bit more aggressive. So that leads me to think probably looking more like 40 or so laps, at least for those that are further in the pack. So that's going to be the next question as well, to see kind of what fuel mileage some of these drivers are able to get. Maybe see if we can get some potential fuel strategies, especially depending on if and when those cautions fall here tonight.
I was watching. I watched one of the guys qualify, and I noticed that they were using the apron on I believe, on the last lap. And so I decided to try it while you were going through all the running order and everything. And the car did not get loose when I went down there. I wonder whether they're going to be able to use that during the race.
I want to say during the race itself, the white line is out of bounds. So I think they'll wind up sticking with staying above that white line. So yeah, pretty sure that those guys will pretty much have to stay committed to running that white line though. However, it looks like qualifying has just completed here though. So say with that, Steve, let's go ahead and pull up our starting grid for tonight's event. And it's going to be Nick DeGroot over Charles Teed. Then you got Matt Wagner there in third, Eric Peterson, Scott Rankin, Jack Walls. And seventh, we got Jim Brooks. Eighth, apparently some 200-pound lead weight in his car for qualifying is Craig Forsyth. He popped in the chat. Not happy with his qualifying result there in that number 27, although our winner last week. And then you got Anders Arhus, Alec Coates rounding out our top 10. 11th and 12th, you got Jeff Heisong and Gary Corley. And we'll run down the remainder of the field here. You've got Yari Brewpacker, Luis Gonzalez, Joseph Morales, Eric Schaus, and Thaddeus McMurray going to finish up our 17 qualifiers for tonight. And so just waiting for the final drivers here to finish getting gridded up. And we will get this 125 lap race underway here very shortly.
So I think my first question here is, did Eric Schaus attempt to qualify and screw up? Or is this another one of those races where he decided to start at the back and try and gain the most spots?
Yeah, it's a good question. I'm not sure, so you'd have to be the one to check that, Steve. Maybe see if there's any incident points on his laps. But thinking that probably opted to start towards the back here tonight. Say maybe thinking fuel mileage right off the bat. And that's the thing is we've been talking about drivers week in, week out, and they pretty much say like if you're going to do the fuel mileage strategy, you got to pretty much commit to it right from the drop of the green. So it'll be fun to see what Eric's got in store for these guys here tonight. I'll say that being said, though, looks like he's got to hop on track here before they leave the grid without him. And I think he's just done so. So I think that's going to complete our field here tonight. And the pace car is just about to start heading off to get this race underway.
That was a good idea to look at his laps. He did not run a single lap in qualifying. So
yeah, so he's going for the back to the front plan here.
Yep.
Which I think he did fairly similar at Gateway last week as well, as able to work his way through the field. So, however, qualifying was really tight for those top three. I think it was within hundredths of a second of one another. So I think that's going to, of course, be that all-important qualifying position. Say right now, of course, advantage goes to Nick DeGroot here. So the question for him, of course, is going to be, can he hang on that white line and be able to hold that lead? Or will that momentum on that second groove maybe be able to do something with these guys? So, and we've seen Charles Teed. He's made some pretty big starts and restarts in this series as well. So I think he's going to be a one to watch for this initial green. See if he can make something happen early for himself to try to take control of this race early.
Yeah, definitely. And if I recall, he's had some not so great luck, at least last week, and probably needs to try and make up for that.
Yeah, I'm sure he's thinking max points here as well. So as I said, a green flag just comes out here as Nick DeGroot, Charles Teed lead the field to the green flag, and they're going to head into turn number one for the first time. It looks like so far Nick gets a nice little jump there. As you can see already, these guys starting to stack up a little bit there through 1 and 2, and that inside line is going to easily prevail here. And unfortunately, that start that Charles was probably hoping to have is not going to come to fruition at this point.
No, although he's got a little bit more momentum going through 3 and 4. He got back outside of Matt Wagner, and he's actually pulling ahead a little bit right now.
Yeah, this is where probably each of these drivers are hoping that Nick will kind of run their line. As contact Matt Wagner, Charles Teed there. Look like Matt just got that arrow push slid up. That's going to bring out the caution. Unfortunately, it's going to collect Charles Teed and Eric Peterson both. And that's going to bring out our first yellow. So these guys, again, going to have to try to limp it to the pits if they can. But it looks like a lot of suspension damage for that number 50. He's trying to do it. Yeah, you can see he's trying to do what he can, but just isn't happening. So we're going to probably see him take a tow here. Let's go back and take a look once more to see what exactly happened. But it just, unfortunately, just looked like some arrow wash. You can see the 6 car. And yeah, just drifts up, unfortunately, and catches the right rear of that 50, and there's nothing there that Charles can do. And unfortunately, Eric Peterson just in the absolute wrong place at the wrong time as he catches that outside wall as well. And it looks like it'll be just the 2 of them, however, that are going to get involved in this one. You saw the 83 there of Jack Wells was able to sneak around, and it looks like everybody else is able to get through unscathed as well. So unfortunately, going to be some tows involved for those guys. And then from there, hopefully they can get some breaks to get back out there. But so like I said, there, Steve, talking about the bad luck for Charles Teed, and unfortunately continues here once again tonight.
Yep, and same for Matt Wagner, who's having to pit here and get some repairs, I think.
Yeah, probably most likely a front wing change on that car, I would suspect. And a lot of drivers here taking advantage of this yellow too, Steve. So you've got pretty much from 9th on back now on pit road, from Matt Wagner and Gary Corley, Luis Gonzalez. Then you got Joseph Morales, Eric Schaus, Thaddeus McMurray also on pit road. So I say obviously those two, you see the two cars up front there at the end just waiting for their tows to complete. At this point already down a lap, hopefully not a second lap. And waiting to see on the 6th car because it's actually a pretty lengthy pit stop for him. I'm not sure if this could be either damage repair or sometimes too these guys, especially when it's an incident like that, a lot of times they'll go back and try to look at the replay too to just try to see what exactly happened so they can kind of maybe just figure out what they need to do for later on in the race. Kind of, again, one of the things you can do in iRacing, maybe can't do in real life, can't hop out the car, look at the replay. But yeah, so not a good spot there, unfortunately, for Charles and Eric there. They're going to have their work cut out for them to try to get back into the thick of this thing here.
I'm curious whether the person on the outside has to keep it that close to the people on the inside to keep their momentum, or if they could actually run a higher line, with higher banking and get the same amount of momentum.
I'm guessing, yeah. I think probably it's just, I think the way these cars are here, I think it's just you want to go the shortest distance you can. And so I think that's what we were seeing right there from Charles T. They're kind of running that middle groove, if you will, to just basically try to stay as tight as he could and kind of get but still keep the clean air on the front wing of his number 50 car. But then you saw there Matt Wagner was kind of in the back of the turbulent air of Nick DeGroot, who was running the inside line. And so it's just unfortunately, once you hit that turbulent air, there's not a lot you can do. Short of, obviously you can roll out of the throttle, but the thing is, sometimes rolling out of the throttle isn't enough to get that wash to go away. So just unfortunately a bad situation. It might even be a little combo of that, plus also we just got into green there, Steve, so maybe a little bit of cold tires as well. So just to say, it's always a little bit of everything in these things, but I'd say do need to mention, looks like Eric Peterson, I think, yep, he's just rolled off of pit road here. So with some luck, Charles Teed shouldn't be too far behind. Yep, there he goes now. So that's going to be the one fast repair for both of those guys. However, I think this keeps them, I'm going to see if this is 1 or 2 down. I want to say it's just the 1, but I may be mistaken here. But we still have some drivers here opting to go ahead and just get every ounce of fuel in these cars. Yari Brupacher, Joseph Morales is going to pop right back in here as well. Looks like Matt Wagner also going to sneak in here and get a little bit more fuel in his car as well. So that's going to leave the lucky dog battle here between Eric Peterson and Charles Teed. And if they are indeed 2 down, Steve, this will be very crucial because pretty much whoever gets the first one, if we get that yellow, would be more likely to be the recipient of that second one as well, because they would just basically have a lap up ahead of the other driver.
Yep, they'd be on a 1 lap down all by themselves.
So I'm waiting for timing and scoring to update just to verify if it's 1 or 2 down. Yeah, it looks like it is indeed 2 laps down for those guys. So, a tough break for Eric and Charles there. So, basically, though, we're going to restart here. Steve going to start lap number 7. And so, like I said, the first driver that pitted under that yellow now is Eric Schaus. He's jumped all the way up to 9th position there with his pit stop strategy there. So a great pit stop for him as well to kind of move up the running order and have a little bit more fuel than those guys up in front of him here as we're about to go green here.
Yeah, definitely. I like that.
And look at this, Nick DeGroot. Usually these guys run all the way up against the wall in these restarts. Nick doesn't want to give it the bottom. He's going to start right on that white line here as we head back to green. You saw in the back there a few drivers hopping to the outside. Eric Schaus being that driver trying to work around Jeff Heisong to try to kick things off right off the bat. But usually you'll see those drivers start up on the outside, drop it down, but he started straight from that white line. So right away, these guys trying to get everything they can. You see Anders Arhus here working with Alec Coates, trying to get the 6th position between the two of them. And it looks like Eric Schaus was able to get around Jeff Heisong. And then just a little further back there, you've got Luis Gonzalez trying to work that middle lane. He's got Gary Corley right behind him. And then you see there's Charles Teed and Eric Peterson. They're having a pretty spirited battle to be that lucky dog position. Right now it's Eric's position, but Charles is trying to work that draft to get up to that spot right now. Another battle here towards the front here for third position. You've got Craig Forsyth and Scott Rankin. However, we're going to jump up front because Jack Walls is trying to make something happen here, Steve. So we got two yellow and black cars, and so I think that's going to be the battles. Which one is the one to take the lead? And right now, Nick DeGroot does kind of like we suspected, Steve, just kind of hugging that white line. Just the thing is, again, he cannot make a mistake to either touch that apron or just misjudge his marks to that little bit. Because if he does, that'll allow Jack to get all over him here.
Yep, and I think this will be our first indication now of whether anyone's going to be able to pass on the outside.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt that it's one of the best in the business here, working that inside line as well. So, say if it was someone like me, I think the outside line could work. But with Nick DeGroot, probably going to be a much more difficult situation. But you can see Jack there just getting every inch of draft he can before he jumps to that middle lane. But you can see just that shorter distance, how much of an advantage it is for Nick there. So it's close. I mean, you can see Jack's able to hold right to the rear wing of that car. It's just, I think it's going to be all about timing at this point. But right now that you can see it, so, I mean, we talk about plate races, Steve. This is kind of had that feel. You see these guys all behind, pretty much all just stacked up here 2 by 2 all the way back.
Yeah, this is looking pretty familiar so far. I would love to see Jack just try the very high line to see what that does.
I just had that sinking feeling, which actually here, let's watch Scott Rankin. He was kind of running that third lane. Jim Brooks kind of running up there with him as well. So I'm saying that might not be by choice, but just by necessity. Again, try to keep some clean air on the front wing of these cars. I think these guys are just trying to go that little bit higher than the car in front of them is. So right now, let's hop on here. What Jim Brooks will watch from his point of view in that number 51. We'll see what he's got around him based on these other guys. See, this time he drops a little lower there with Scott Rankin running that third lane. But I do happen to know that 51 usually likes to rim right if he gets the opportunity to. The problem is he just doesn't have that opportunity at the moment, as that 156 of Scott Rankin is in that spot. So I think
Jack Walls just got it. He's got his best run on the outside so far.
Yeah, I'd say, and I thought I saw a little bit of maybe a connection hiccup or something like that with Scott Rankin, so that's allowed Jim Brooks to get around him. So that's now moved Jim up into that top 6 position here. But you're right, though, Jack is definitely keeping that pressure on here. And I'm saying you can see the outside line, it does work, Steve. You are able to get a little closer and a little closer. But just like you said, with these cars, there's no real bum drafting, things like that. So you get that advantage until you hit that same block of air that Nick DeGroot's in right now. So, but again, the other thing we got to watch is going to be those drivers that pitted under that yellow. And right now, it's actually right behind Jim Brooks here, Luis Gonzalez. He is the one that's in that position right now, in that number 14. He's the furthest up of those that did pit under this yellow. So that'll be the other question, is how much further can he go possibly in relation to these guys up front? Because he's also got that option. We haven't talked about fuel maps as well, Steve. Maybe running a little leaner, just enough to hang on to the draft here, but still try to save every little drop of fuel he can.
These guys are all running so close up front.
Yeah, it makes me nervous. And again, let's say this is where I'm definitely glad to be in the booth and versus being on the track. Because I've had a couple races. Let's say I get to race with these guys over on Dark Horse on Wednesday nights with the DW12, and I had a race where I was trying to go for the lead. I was trying to work over Craig Forsyth, and just misjudged where I was, and pretty much just drove into his side pod, just trying to squeeze him as much as I could for my own benefit. Luckily, it didn't affect him, but as I say, definitely set me up the track. So I went back and looked at it, and sure enough, it's like, yeah, that wasn't netcode. That was just me literally turning into that number 27 car. So live and learn there. But yeah, these guys, they make it look a lot easier than it really is right now.
Yeah, and I can tell you, it gets very frustrating and very claustrophobic when you're like in the middle of a pack like this and you can't go anywhere.
Yes, exactly right. So I think you'll have two kind of trains of thought here where probably one of the more frustrated drivers right now is probably Jack Walls, just running that middle lane, just thinking, man, I just need to get around Nick DeGroot, and then I could do what he's doing. And then you have the next person there, and I would say normally frustrated probably being Craig Forsyth, because it's like, oh man, the inside and the outside lines are trapped. I can't go anywhere here. But actually knowing Craig here, I feel like he might be thinking, hey, this is actually probably, a little bit of a bobbler. Jim Brooks up in the wall there. Not sure if that was netcode or not. We got trouble behind there as well. Oh, big hit for Scott Rankin. Jim Brooks as well with the damage. And I saw one fly to the infield there as well. I think Matt Wagner may have got a... No, it wasn't Matt Wagner. Who was it that flew to the inside?
That was Alec Coates that started that one. He wiggled coming off the turn and lost speed and got run into from behind.
Let's go back and take a look there with Alec Coates and see what exactly happened here. So you see Alec right there in that number 3. Let's try to get a better look at it here.
I wonder if that was netcode.
I'm wondering. It does look like a little bobble, and yeah, unfortunately, as soon as he rolls out of it, Jim Brooks, not enough time for a reaction, and so you see he catches into him a little bit. Look at that save there by the 14. You see Charles Teed here as well, having to go to the apron. And then, this is where you see Gary Corley gets a little piece of him as well. But then Scott Rankin takes a really tough lick there as well, back up to the outside wall. So, unfortunately, it looks like for Alec Coates and then Scott Rankin and then Gary Corley all getting caught up in that. And Jim Brooks, we'll see how much damage Jim has. Actually, no, it looks like suspension damage as well. I was thinking it could just be maybe nose cone, but you see that right front flopping around there. So it's a good question, though, Steve. I don't know, could it have been netcode or not due to that as well, which is definitely always a potential. So, however, we're going to jump back live here because we've just had some pit stops complete themselves there. And Nick DeGroot's going to win that race off of pit road. However, Lucky Dog here, Steve, looks like is... I think Charles Teed. Yeah, Charles Teed 1 lap down now. So he was able to jump himself up a lap. But look what I'm seeing here as well, though. Eric Peterson. We'll see if he comes in or not, but it looks like Eric may be going to try some strategy here and just take that wave around on the one to go with the rest of the field, pitting there. However, he pitted in lap number 2. I'm trying to think how far he could still go. I want to say he could go about another 15, 20 laps. So we'll see if he ducks in or not. It looks like he will stay on. Actually, surprising, Matt Wagner. No, Matt's going to jump in. I was wondering if he was going to stay out as well, but he just went to grab a lap lead, I think, in that number 6. Now I'll hand it back over to Nick DeGroot here.
I don't know if my standings here are correct or not correct, but I'm showing Charles Teed, Alec Coates, and Eric Peterson all a lap down. Of course, Alec is still in the pits.
Yeah, unfortunately, Alec just missed out from being 1 down instead of 2 down. As you see, he's rolling out of pit road right now. So he is going to fall 2 laps down, unfortunately. But yeah, so Charles Teed is indeed 1 down. He got the lucky dog there. And what Eric Peterson is doing here, Steve, is he's going to take the wave around on the 1 to go to get also back 1 lap down. So the only risk here for Eric is he's going to have to pit a lot sooner than those other guys who just pitted here on lap number 22. So basically he's got, I'd say, about 10, 15 laps or so until he probably has to hit pit road. So he's going to have to hope for probably either a quick pit stop or quick caution, or let this thing cycle out for at least 1 pit stop cycle to maybe give him a chance here as well.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that this is the right move.
I think it's worth a gamble because, yeah, I mean, you're going to get put back a lap down regardless if you pit or not. So getting it back this way, I think it's worth the gamble because, yeah, if there's not a caution, if there is a caution, it would just go straight to Charles Teed. So this way, at least, if there's a yellow, you already got one of those 2 back. So I think this is a great call by Eric Peterson to at least give himself a chance here to try to get back in the running here. All right, lights are off on the pace car. Drivers, looks like for the most part, just only 2 drivers here hitting pit road. Yari Brupacher getting a splash of fuel, as is Charles Teed. Great call for Charles here. I mean, you might as well at this point. You're going to be in the back anyway. Just get every little drop you can here. Maybe try to see if you can maybe outfuel these guys a little bit as well, make something happen that way. So we'll keep an eye on that number 50 as well, see if he can get back into it. And then, yeah, unfortunately, Alec Coates now 2 laps down as well. Just missed getting back on track there by probably about, I'd say, 10 seconds or so. He would have been able to get back on track just 1 down instead of the 2.
And it's a rough night for the cars with really nice multicolored paint schemes.
Yeah, it has seemed to be that way. And another thing to mention too was we talked about other drivers involved, Jim Brooks, Gary Corley. Stay on the lead lap, so great job by those guys, able to make those cars get back to pit road. However, they're going to be very careful, and also got to mention Scott Rankin as well. So a lot of drivers there that got involved are able to hang on to these things. So again, fashion repairs though could come into play here, Steve. Not a lot of drivers having their one left. So you go through the numbers. You got Charles Teed, Eric Peterson, Jim Brooks there, Scott Rankin, most likely Gary Corley as well. But we're going to watch this battle up front, because you can see right away here, again, Jack Wall's going to try to work that outside line. But Craig's getting a little tighter this time there in that 27 car. I think trying to see maybe he can put himself in that catbird seat.
Watching Matt Wagner, notice that when this thing restarted, he kind of didn't get going right away, or he was letting people by. And I can't tell if he's off pace or if he's just in a lower fuel map.
Yeah, I'm not sure, because he kind of did similar on the last restart as well. I'm almost wondering if that initial contact with Charles Teed might kind of have not shaken him per se, but where it's like, all right, you know what? I don't want to get racy right now because I already feel bad enough for what happened at the beginning. I feel like Matt and I are fairly similar in that respect, where we let things like that affect us maybe more than other drivers would, and so you're rougher on yourself than maybe any other driver would be. So so I think that might be where he's like, you know what? I'm just going to stay back here. I'm not going to race at this point. And maybe just waiting till hopefully like Charles Teed and company can maybe get back onto the lead lap, or then he'll feel a little bit better about everything, and he can go back racing himself. So I'm just speculating. It could be a whole different other reason, like you said, Steve. Could be damage related, where he's just having to limp a little bit of damage, or maybe sees something on the fuel side he likes and thinks he can make some magic happen on the fuel mileage, and just starting it right off the bat here.
That was an interesting point you made about, sort of punishing yourself when you make a mistake. And I think I'm a lot like you as well. If I do something that causes somebody else to get damaged, I feel pretty bad for one thing, and for another thing, I will probably be a lot more cautious for a while after that, because I'll be worried that I'm going to mess somebody else up.
Yeah, and I think we're, like you said, I think we're on the pretty much the same wavelengths there, Steve, with you and I. And I think that's why we've raced really well together when we do get the opportunities to race lately, which feels like it's been few and far between lately. But yeah, right now, though, these guys insane. Again, the other thing we got to watch about is we talked about Eric Peterson having to pit early. However, him and Charles Teed, they're right here together. You see Charles trying to work over Jim Brooks. So this is still a battle for a lucky dog spot, even if there's a yellow. Eric could have been the beneficiary of that should he stay in front of that number 50. So there's still some opportunities for Eric, but I think what's going on here for Eric Peterson is probably just trying to save as much fuel as he can so he doesn't have to pit too much earlier than the rest of the field. So we'll definitely keep an eye on that 36, because he will by far be the earliest to hit pit road than the rest of the guys up front. But right now things have, I'm not going to say settled out right now, because the top 5 or so are just still running all 2x2. We got Luis Gonzalez here trying to run that outside line, almost looking at the third lane here now too, Steve. You were mentioning that how it compares, and holding pretty strong, I must say, against Jack Walls there. I think that's going to be the comparison, is how does the 14 compare against the 83 here, kind of middle to top, if you will.
So for what it's worth, I'm showing Eric Peterson still a lap down.
Yes. Yeah, he's still one down. It's him and Charles Teed are both one down, because Charles with the lucky dog, Eric with the wave round on the one to go. So Like I said, so basically Eric's kind of gamble is either a quick yellow or a yellow that happens after pit stop cycles, where he would then stay on still be just the 1 lap down instead of going back to 2 or more down. So that's why those 2 drivers are both 1 down at the moment.
Okay, that's why it confused me.
And so right now, some of our higher climbers here right now include that 14 of Luis Gonzalez. We just had mentioned him, kind of bouncing between 10 and 11 spots gained right now in that 14. Thaddeus McMurray right there in the 37. He is plus 11. And then we mentioned Eric Schaus didn't put down a qualifying lap, Steve, but he is now in that top 7, 9 spots gained for him. And so we'll see. We were wondering how that would work out for Eric, and so far, not too bad, I must say. So we'll have to keep an eye as things continue on. But right now, though, it's just, yeah, I mean, it's tight up front. These guys are, like you said, they're running each other pretty tight here, pretty hard. But just unfortunate that inside line just is currently what's prevailing. And if we get to that green flag pit stop, Steve, that's where I think things are going to really, I think that's going to be make or break for some of these guys' races and or chances to win tonight.
Yeah, definitely.
So say I had one race where, same thing Wednesday series, where I thought, I was like, okay, this is it. I'm going to get out in the lead, but I just didn't quite have the momentum built up, and it was Craig Forsyth. He was able to use the momentum that he, from pitting a lap or 2 earlier, swung right around me, and at that point I think that was actually the same race where I kind of squeezed him too much, but I'd say at that point I was like, oh, I'm toast now. So I kind of got stuck on I was basically where Jack Walls was right there, working with him, just trying to make that outside line work. Just wasn't quite able to do it. So right now, though, Jack's being very patient here, and I'd say the other thing that's going on in his favor is Craig's not really creeping up too much to Nick here. So it's allowing Jack to every so often just steal a little bit of draft off that 89 and kind of try to peek himself a little forward if he can. Just hasn't quite worked enough as of yet, but that middle to outside lane works great up until about that 2nd position, because I mean, you can see how much Luis has pushed himself forward in that 14 car. As I said, he just gets stuck up against the wall there for just a split second. I think he's going to get away with it, though, Steve. I don't think it's going to be too hard of a hit, but I'd say he's going to have to rebuild some momentum, try to get that some of the track position back, unfortunately.
And when I was playing around during qualifying, trying to run the high line, I managed to scrape the wall twice. And I don't think it did any damage, but I definitely felt it when I hit the wall.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like the pace is still there in that 14 car. I mean, you can see he's right back on the rear wing of Eric Schaus here. It's allowed Thaddeus McMurray now to jump into that top 5 as well in that 37 car. You also see Scott Rankin recovering nicely from his incident, being involved in that earlier incident as well, to jump up to 6th here. So you can see, I mean, Luis is still trying to run that outside line, but now he's got Eric Schaus running that exact same lane as him, and so it just isn't working out. You see Charles Teed here starting to creep into the picture as well. Say lap down or not, say he's been able to make some passes, and so something's definitely got to be said about that. A pretty impressive stuff here from Charles. You see right there, had to jump straight to the middle, or to the bottom there. And as I say that, though, Eric Peterson, we talked about him, Steve, just hit pit road here in that 36 car. Oh no, actually loses it on pit entry. It looks like he's gonna have to try to back that thing up, and unfortunately that's gonna probably put him from 2 down to from 1 down to maybe even to 3 down, most likely. Just losing that much time trying to get that car pointed back in the right direction.
Yeah, this is a tough pit road to get onto.
Yeah, and that's going to be something, if he's maybe in the same Discord as some of these other drivers, might have to mention, like, hey, I did this is what didn't work, and you might need to make some adjustments when you guys pit, because that's the next thing too, is some of these guys, they might have to be pitting from the lead pack here. And so that gets very dicey. We've seen some pit stop incidents before. So, I mean, just based on what we're seeing right now, I would think it's going to be Nick DeGroot, Jack Walls, most likely the first to have to hit pit road. Right now, we're on lap 46. They pitted on 22, Steve. So we feel like they can go probably maybe about 10 more laps roughly before I think we really start to see that pit window open up for that scheduled green flag pit stop.
Yeah, and most likely, since Nick DeGroot's been up there leading the whole time, not able to catch the draft off anyone and save some fuel, I would guess that he's going to be the first one.
Yeah, I think it's going to be, I think, yeah, kind of either between Nick and Jack, which one will have to pit first, because of course Jack running a further distance on track, they're running that middle lane, and probably not doing a lot of saving either in that number 83 Pennzoil car. So, but like I said, I think Craig Forsyth, I think he's been just fuel saving this whole time in that number 27. Again, kind of wish we could see what actual settings they were running for the fuel maps and things like that, so we could give you guys a better idea of who was doing what. But at the same time, these drivers are sneaky, Steve. It's probably a better thing that we don't have access to that, because I think that we'd have probably more viewers including those behind the wheel, to be like, oh, okay, here's what so-and-so is doing. Let me try that myself.
It's true. Although I wish we knew that stuff too, because right now I'm looking at Eric Schaus trying to figure out what he's doing, because he's basically been entering the turn on a pretty high line, staying up high for a little bit, then coming down to the middle line, but never getting down into the bottom lane. And so that's enabled, I think, 2 or 3 cars to get by him. So I don't know what he's doing, because he's not saving fuel by taking a longer way around the track.
Yeah, the only thing I can think of is maybe he's just able to really keep the throttle down, running the lane that he's got. But maybe again, because there's always kind of a mixed train of thoughts of what's the best way to save fuel. Is it running map 1 full rich and using throttle control to try to save fuel, or do you want to keep it pinned to the floor and be running a map 3 or something like that, which is a leaner map? So there's a lot of theories of which is the best way to save fuel. Which one's correct? That's what's up for debate for some of these guys. So that could be what Eric's doing here, is maybe running a map 2 or a map 3, but running a lane where he can just stay fully matted to the throttle and not have to worry about getting that dirty air around him. So because that top 3, they've started to split away a little bit. You see Craig Forsyth, he stayed nice and tight on these guys, but they've got about a half second now, and Anders Arhus there in the the 4th position. So whatever these guys are doing up front here, they're able to. I mean, it makes sense for the top 2. They're going to have nice clean air in front of them. But Craig doing a great job with still working that dirty air, but still able to keep that gap from these guys behind him.
And this whole field is running, pretty much all together. There's nobody that's really fallen off the draft.
No, I think right now Jari Brupacher is right now last of this lead pack, and he's only just over 3 seconds off of the lead here. And unfortunately, do need to mention Eric Peterson. I think that after the pit road miscue may have given him some damage, and I say he's called. It looks like he has retired from tonight, so he will finish in 17th, unfortunately. And say just bad luck. I mean, from the first incident, just wrong place, wrong time, getting caught up in it. To unfortunately now with that pit stop miscue as well. So, however, looking back there, things are getting pretty dicey here, right around Scott Rankin there. I think he had to actually go down below that white line just to make sure there wasn't going to be any contact there. So these guys are starting to get a little dicey here, I think, just knowing what's about to happen. But I'm going to jump up front here, Steve, because we're starting lap number 56. And this is right around that pit window that I'm thinking we'll see these guys coming out. I was hearing about 33 or so on full rich fuel. So I'll say we're starting just about to get to that point, of course, with a couple yellow laps. So I think we got to watch this 89 and the 83 here.
I'm still guessing that Nick DeGroot will be the first one. Or him and Jack Walls will come in at the same time.
Yeah, and look at Jack Walls here. He's actually tucked to the inside lane, so I think this is probably Jack kind of not officially signaling that he's going to be pitting, but I think this is the first time we've seen him drop to the inside, so I think we're going to start to see some pit stops here, and it may lead off with Jack Walls.
Yep, he just announced it. Let's see if Nick comes in.
Yep, Nick's in as well, along with Jack, and I think also the 14. Oh, Jack's too hot here. He's going to catch the wall. This is going to be sketchy. Oh, Nick just able to sneak by there, as is Luis Gonzalez. Unfortunately, Jack just a little too hot on entry there. He's going to try to get his car looped back around here. But unfortunately, I'd say the same thing. He's going to have to burn a fast repair, and of course, costing him a ton of time, which is now going to cycle Craig Forsyth to the front, and saying now he can kind of just basically use up whatever fuel he has saved from following those two cars. As right now, so you can see these guys just basically getting to their pit stalls now, and they're already going one lap down. Just the outright pace of of these cars. Again, going probably about, well, actually, let's find out how fast we think we're going, Steve.
200.
About two, let's see, about, well, I think Craig might be pitting. Yeah, here comes Craig. You can see the miles dropping there. He's also going to bring that number 156 of Scott Rankin in there. Both drivers going aggressive there. Hopefully Scott got down the speed. And it was looking like almost about 220 entering turn one for Anders Arhus there. So, yeah, I mean, 220 miles an hour versus about a 50, 60 mile an hour pit speed limit's definitely a pretty big swing here. But yeah, so pit stop starting to kick off here. So we'll see Anders. Look at the arc he's going. He's going a different approach there. Try to move up and then cut it back down. Looked like that worked pretty well for Anders there. He's got right behind him. He's going to have some more drivers here with him. That's going to cycle Eric Schaus to the front here. And we talked about maybe some fuel mileage strategies for Eric, and I think that's exactly what we're seeing out of that 72 car. He's working some numbers right now.
How much farther can he go?
That is going to be, so close. But that's going to be, he's going to come in Charles Teed. That's going to cycle Matt Wagner now to the front. Matt, one of those drivers that topped off there. He's bringing along with him, though, Jeff Heisong, Jari Brupacher. Jari also topped off on the ones ago, so Jari should have just a teeny bit more than Matt Wagner. But Jeff Heisong, though, great fuel mileage for him so far. And looking at pit stops, looks like everybody's so far so good. Not seeing anybody with the stop and holds as of yet.
So
here comes Jari. Oh, Jari, yep, he got to slow down. Okay, so Yari's going to hit pit road here.
Okay, Matt Wagner just keyed up. I think he's pitting.
Yeah, so Matt's going to probably come in. I'm suspecting we'll see Jeff Heisong in along as well. And I believe Charles Teeds had a moment on pit exit. I believe as Matt Wagner too hot on entry. Can he hang onto it? No, he's going to catch the inside wall. This, if he has a faster pair left, Steve will know it because he's going to have to use it here. Jeff Heisong is in along with him. And so we'll see, because right now this is the battle, though, after the pit stops. It's Craig Forsyth, Nick DeGroot. Craig's got the edge right now, Steve. He's now able to be the white line protector, if you will. They've got about a 4-car breakaway with Craig, Nick, Luis, and Scott Rankin.
This is pretty much what Craig did last week also.
Yeah, you're exactly right. So we just crossed the halfway point a lap or so ago. So we're getting into 62 to go here. So basically, I think one more pit stop, pretty much safely, these guys can make it to the end. And Matt Wagner still on pit road here. This is a long stop again, and not sure, Steve. This may be either a penalty or maybe for the damage repairs. Unfortunately, for that number 6 car, trying to take a better look at it. I just can't tell.
I'm going to guess penalty because I don't think he used his fast repair yet.
So we'll see, because it should be coming out in just a second, because usually it's a 40-second stop and hold. Yep, yeah, that's exactly at 48.15 seconds. So use the fast repair, but unfortunately it's going to get put, I believe, 1 lap down. And so now he's going to be in the fight with Charles Teed here in the 50, because Charles also had an issue on pit road, I think on the pit road exit, if I'm not mistaken. And they're going to be coming out pretty close together. So this is actually going to become the Lucky Dog battle between these two right here. So that could get pretty interesting as well here. But right now, though, up front here, like I said, I would say it was about a 4-car breakaway. It's going to turn into about a 7-car breakaway as Eric Schaus and Jim Brooks are just about to tag onto the back of this pack here. But then they got about a 5-second gap to Jeff Heisong. So right now we got about our top 7 here, plus a lap car or 2 in the mix, all here in the thick of this thing.
Well, Gael, you pretty much predicted that pit stops were going to shake things up, and they sure did.
Yeah, like I said, it's like a plate race, Steve. Let's say the drivers that are able to nail their pit stops, they're going to kind of separate themselves and run away a little bit. And unfortunately, those that didn't have the pit stops they needed, they fall back. At this point, it looks like about 5 seconds back. It's Jeff Heisong leading that second pack here. With Gary Corley, Jari Brupacher, and Thaddeus McMurray are those 4 along with him.
It's so easy to make a mistake on a track like this where you have a tough entry to the pits and you're all running so close together that you feel that pressure to try and get every last millisecond that you can out of your pit stop.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. And I'm looking at pit stop total pit lane times, for instance. I think what's gotten Craig the lead there, Steve, was the fact that, one, he had a clear pit entry, so he didn't have to worry about anybody around him. He had a 36.90 pit lane time compared to a 37.52 for Nick DeGroot. It was a 36.95 for Luis Gonzalez, so a great pit stop for him as well in that 14. And then some of those drivers that fell off the back, including Jeff Heisong, was a 39.33, so not even 2 seconds slower not even 3 seconds, sorry, just over 2 seconds slower, apologies. But that's enough to drop him from that lead pack and out of it, unfortunately, at this point in the race. I mean, that's how little difference that these little things make add up to such a big margin.
And I wonder whether the amount of time that Nick DeGroot lost on that pit stop was because he had to check up for Jack Walls when he messed up.
That's a really good point, Steve. Yeah, he may have had to kind of, like said, maybe roll out of the throttle or do something, just be like kind of ride the brake just to make sure, hey, I got to make sure I'm not going to have any contact here. But I am watching those. Look at Alec Coates here. He's working his way up through the field here because, again, he's 2 laps down right now, so he wants to try to get to 1 down here. And so now he's in that leading spot on the outside lane here. And the question, though, is for Craig Forsyth is, I mean, I think for Craig here, he's like said, I think he's just got to live on this white line. But this now gives Nick DeGroot kind of the same opportunity here that Craig had at that first run. Maybe just tuck down that fuel map a little bit, go to maybe a map 2, map 3, something like that. And then maybe you can put a little bit less fuel in, because I believe, like I said, I think these guys can make it on one more stop in about 20 laps or so. These guys should all safely be in their window to make it to the end.
And Alec Coates has tried everything to get that lead. Well, to be the front car in the pack, so that he doesn't have to get a lucky dog or a wave around.
And the thing is too is he needs it, because right now he's 2 down. This is just to get him to 1 down, where he can then compete with Matt Wagner, Charles Teed. And do need to mention on that battle right now, it's still Matt Wagner holding on to that spot for the moment. You see Charles Teed's right there in that draft as well here. So I say that fight definitely not over as well. So right now, I'd say it's definitely busy up front here. I say I'm watching. I saw similar here on. I'd say for those that watch the Sunday series as well. I feel like this is a different day, same verse here. Jim Brooks right at the back of this lead pack draft here, but just rolling out of it. Say, you know what? I can't really gain too much as of yet, but I can lose a lot. You guys go ahead up and fight. I'm just going to hold the draft, save a little bit of fuel, keep my car clean, and then once it's time, I'll try to do something with it. And also, of course, without that fast repair lift in his back pocket as well. So I think that's what we're seeing right now out of that number 51 here. Like I said, for those that maybe watched on Sunday night, pretty much exactly the same thing we saw there. They were running 3x3, and he was just kind of cruising, waiting for something to happen and give himself an opportunity to gain a couple spots.
How did that work out?
That's a good question. I don't think it worked out as well he may have hoped for, but there was a pretty big incident though towards the end of that race that he was in the back of, and I'm trying to remember if he got through cleanly or not. But I mean, Daytona Talladega, it's very, even if you've got some breathing room, it's still very difficult to avoid some wrecks. So I want to say he still got a piece of it, but I want to say fared better than some of those that were in the thick of that wreck, though.
Because that's always a tough decision, at any kind of track where you're all running this close together, going this fast. Really, if you had your way, you'd want to be the front car, because then you're not going to run into any accidents, because everything's going to happen behind you. Unless someone happens to run into you, which I've had happen.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's definitely not a get out of jail free car to be at the front, but yeah, definitely there's less likelihood of being involved in a wreck up front. But yeah, I mean, I say someone could still make a mistake, get into your door, side pod in this case, or just maybe time the draft a little bit wrong and get into the back of these guys. We've seen sometimes that happens as well. So like I said, myself included. But yeah, right now, like you said, though, that 3-car Alec Coates, I mean, it's not for lack of effort. Just unfortunately tonight, that inside line is just too strong. And unfortunately, these guys are all competitors. They know that, and if it's their best chance to win, so they can't give up what's going to give them a chance to win this race.
Yeah, exactly. And if you're Craig Forsyth, you know, you could possibly think about letting Alec Coates get around you, but then you're stuck in second place and you're vulnerable to losing it because the third place guy at least has a chance to pass the second place guy.
Yep. And I think Craig did his job on that first run. He saved the fuel he needed to in order to go a little bit further, and I think that's allowed him to now be able to make it to the end on that one more stop, whereas I think if he had pitted as early as maybe Nick did and was in this position, he might be tight on fuel, but I'd say with him pitting at lap number 59, again, we talked about these guys maybe going about 33, 35 laps, so we'll say that's about lap 95. That's going to be right around 30 to go. So yeah, I mean, if he had pitted around 57, it'd be pretty tight for him to make it all the way to the end.
So, and that may actually be to Nick's advantage, or at least even things up, since he's able to sit there in third and save fuel drafting off the guys ahead.
Yeah, exactly right. And so and that's the next thing that we got to think about, Steve, is who went the furthest of this lead pack. That's going to be Eric Schaus in that number 72 car. He pitted at lap number 61. Anders Arhus at lap number 60. So those two went a couple laps longer than those front runners. And I think we're seeing it again from Eric. Look how far off he is of the group up front here. Not in risk of losing the draft. It's about a second and a half or so of the draft window. However, I think Eric's maybe starting to think a little bit outside the box here. Maybe we see him either jump in early, or maybe we see a little bit of strategy to try to take that least amount of fuel he can to make it to the end. Maybe that little bit less fuel might be enough for him to try to leapfrog himself up towards the top 2 or 3 here after this last pit stop cycle potential.
Yep, so he may be running a lower or higher fuel map.
And also got to mention that second group is starting to catch a little bit. Jeff Heisong, Jari Brupacher, they've been running in the 2480s, Craig Forsyth 25.0s. So they are, I believe, starting to close that gap. I think it was at 5 seconds or so at one point. It's down to about 4, looks like 4.3 right now. So they have, big hit there for the number 3 of Alec Coates. That's going to bring out the yellow. Oh, so many cars involved there. And unfortunately, you see, as the field's coming through here, we got more drivers caught up. And then Jim Brooks, you see, he's in it. Alec Coates, we saw him get caught up in that one as well. I'm trying to say, I think the 14 of Luis Gonzalez, yeah, he's in this as well, Steve. And I think also possibly, I think Nick DeGroot may have got a piece of it as well. Trying to find Nick in the 89 car. Oh, yeah, Nick's significant damage as well. Jeff Heisong. That took out a lot of our front runners there, and it just looked like he got loose there. We'll have to take another look here to see what exactly happened there to that number 3 of Alec Coates. But so maybe just it was starting to get low on fuel, Steve, and it just stepped out on him right on entry here.
That is definitely rough, as well as he was doing up there.
And then you can see towards the back here, just the closing rate. Nick DeGroot was having to slow. He saw what was happening, but then look at unfortunately the 156. I'm sorry, Scott Rankin. He gets a piece of that as well as Anders Arhus. And we got to jump back a little further there to see some of those other drivers. Jim Brooks caught up in that one with the 3 as well as the 14. And then this is where, unfortunately, a few others got caught up. And you see Gary Corley, I think, sneaks through here. But right in front of him was that 18 of Jeff Heisong. And and actually it looks like he got also Nick DeGroot just for good measure there. So this is really going to shake up our drivers in this field here. You also see right there. Oh, I was about to say it looked like Thaddeus McMurray got through, but he got a piece of that as well. We're going to have a lot of damaged cars here, Steve. I'm not sure who's going to be left after all this is all said and done, honestly.
I think only like 2 or 3 cars made it through that clean.
Yeah, so I mean, we know for sure Craig Forsyth, he was ahead of it all. He talked about not being involved in the wreck, Steve being ahead of it. That was Craig. Eric Schaus, I believe he got through as well, cleaning in 72 car. Anders Arhus, I think he also... No, actually, I think Anders was involved, but he was able to get back out on track here quickly, and he's going to hold on to third. Jari Brupacher, he's still going to be in this one as well in fourth. Gary Corley in fifth. And then it looks like it's going to be Thaddeus McMurray there and Matt Wagner in 6th and 7th. And then I believe Joseph Morales actually got the wave around, if I'm not mistaken, Steve. I think he may have got the lucky dog to get back onto the lead lap. And unfortunately, that's forced Charles Teed here in the number 50. He's going to try to stay out here and try to get back on the lead lap in that number 50 machine, but will need a yellow or else he's going to have to pit under green flag conditions, because right now we're on 60, or he pitted on 60. We're at lap number 90. I say if this is accurate, Steve, he's, I mean, I don't see the call on this one. I think he might as well just pit under yellow here. But, oh, Steve, this is going to be right on the absolute edge of the fuel window, though, too. I'm just looking at it now. Because right now we're at 36 to go. Means probably a restart with about 34 to go. These guys are going to be close. This is going to be tight on fuel. And then also need to mention Nick DeGroot is back out on track, is 1 lap down at the moment. The only car 1 down. Everybody else 2 or more. Unfortunately, we mentioned Jim Brooks. He has retired. Had to use his fast repair earlier, so that's it for him. So, yeah, this is going to get interesting. We'll see if anybody comes in here to top off, Steve. I think that's going to be the strategy call, possibly, to be able to run full rich to the end and have a chance to win this race.
Yeah, I think, if you're, in my opinion, if you're on the lead lap, you're coming in to top off.
And so far, none of our front runners actually. So none of our leaders here top off. I think they're all opting for track position. However, Charles Teed is going to get back on the lead lap here, Steve. But again, though, pitted at lap number 60. So, I mean, based on my numbers, I feel like he's going to have to pit in like 5-6 more laps. So, I say unless something timing and scoring got screwed up there, but I'm a little nervous about this for Charles here. I think he's going to put himself, unfortunately, in a pretty tight spot here to be able to make it to the end. So, we'll see with the strategy how it pans out. So right now, the only driver 1 down is Nick DeGroot. He pitted under that yellow, so he should be pretty close, if not good to go to the end. But yeah, we're going to restart this thing, Steve. 34 to go. They pitted at lap number 88. Of course, everybody's going full fuel save right now. So yeah, these guys this might be right on the edge of that fuel number.
Did Charles Teed end up pitting or no?
No, he took the waiver and he stayed out, so he's he's on the lead lap again. But again, I think he's going to have to pit very, very soon, though. So right now, though, it's going to be Craig Forsyth leading the field here back to green as he gets back on the throttle here, and he's going to head back to green. 34 to go. Top 3 are Craig Forsyth, Eric Schaus, and Anders Arhus.
Yeah, so Charles Teed is probably hoping for a quick caution here. Otherwise, he'll be back to 1 lap down.
Yeah, I'm thinking the same. You saw right there, Craig breaking the draft on the backstretch, just trying to make sure that Eric didn't get enough momentum to try to make that pass entering turn number 3. And in doing so, that's now allowed Anders here to jump to that 2nd position. He's going to hop to the top here. And again, I still am wondering, big picture here, I'm wondering if that's an intentional move by Eric to stay up top there to let Anders lead here. And like I said, maybe let these guys run themselves potentially out of fuel and put himself in that catbird seat. So this is all to play for. And actually, as I said, he's going to jump to the top here, try to go 3 wide right now. You see also Yari Brupacher, he's joined the party here. And then Gary Corley, we haven't really talked about Gary. Now he's right into the thick of this thing in the top 5. And Thaddeus McMurray right now sitting in 6th in this race as well.
Well, this is where I wonder whether Eric Schaus is going to adjust his line a little bit, which he seems to be doing. Not stay up as high for as long as he was doing before, but he's still staying up there a lot higher longer than I would have expected. Because he's leaving enough room under him for too long that he may end up losing some more spots if he keeps doing that.
Yeah, I think he's just trying to find what's going to work for him. So right now, say you see the top 4 or 5 all pretty bunched together, and then you see just a little further back, things pretty dicey as well back there, right around Matt Wagner. with Charles Teed. Like I said, I'm going to be watching closely on Charles Teed because, like I said, I feel like he's going to have to be pitting here pretty shortly, unless, like I said, unless I missed something. But from everything I saw, I believe, like I said, that Lucky Dog went to that 60 of Joseph Morales. I say we got to mention Joseph as well here in that number 60 car. Right now sitting in 7th position, taking full advantage of that Lucky Dog and being right in the mix here as we get to this closing stage of the race.
Is that Matt Wagner flying on the outside?
Yeah, Matt's trying to work that outside with, I believe that's Jari Brupacher as well, so they're starting to try to get that second lane. And that's the thing, you can make time on that outside. I just feel like it stalls out, unfortunately, once you get to about 2nd, 3rd position. So right now it's going to work great for Jari and Matt here. They're going to start moving towards the front here, but then at some point it's going to start to fizzle out, I think, once they get to Craig, and it'll kind of be like we saw where that 2nd place car just, you can kind of peek your nose a little bit, but that's about all you can get. So, but yeah, I mean, right now my big question mark, Steve, is going to be that fuel number. I could be making more of this than is really there, but I must say I'm a little nervous about how far these guys can go. And I'm going to actually see if we can find out. Let's look at our pit stop lengths here. So you can see that the second one is the Telltale here. Those guys all going about 30, looks like 37 laps was the shortest stint length for Craig Forsyth. Which I believe they pitted with about, close there through the tri-oval between Matt Wagner and I think it was Status McMurray. So they pitted on 88 here, Steve. And so we're on lap 100 right now. So that's about 12 laps in since they pitted. Add, 26 more to that. Whew, that's tight. That's like right at 38.
Eric Schaus had a pretty scary moment there, and I'm not sure who that is in the yellow. There's a yellow car behind him.
I think that's Jack Walls.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, I think they touched wheels, and Jack Walls very nearly went into the outside wall.
Yeah, and say Jack's in a tough spot here right now because he's trapped 2 laps down, but he's got 2 other cars 2 down as well. So right now, I mean, it's basically the difference between 11th and 13th right now with where he is in relation to them. Especially if there's an incident around him, I mean, it could shake everything up as well. So yeah, oh man, this is tense right now, Steve. Again, this is one of those races I'm definitely glad to be in the booth instead of behind the wheel of these cars, because there's just, I think you've got fuel strategy that I think you're gonna have to be worrying about, but that's of course at the same time this close to wheel-to-wheel action here at about 220 miles an hour. But yeah, I'm not sure what the winning strategy is going to be. Is it going to be Craig able to just run the fuel out to the end or not? It's going to be interesting here to see, can he make it, because we've got 22 more to go. And like I said, he pitted at lap number 88, so it's going to be tight. It'll be right on the number.
Well, we know that Craig is one of the best fuel savers in the league, so I bet he makes it.
So the things that Craig could be doing right now is, of course, that's going to put the question out of it right now, as we got another big wreck there. Anders Arhus, Eric Schaus caught up in it, Matt Wagner. It looks like Gary Corley as well, and I think it may have started up a little bit up with Jack Walls, and I think Anders Arhus, I think Jack's already had to take a tow, unfortunately. So that's going to put Craig now exactly where he wanted to be. And that's also a huge break, if I'm not mistaken, for Charles T. No, I'm sorry. Actually, Charles had just pitted, Steve. He had pitted on lap number 98, so he needed that to happen a few laps sooner because he's still sitting 1 lap down here. So we'll see where the Lucky Dog goes. I think it's going to go to Nick DeGroot because it looks like he got through clean. Let's go back and see what happened here. But I want to say it kicked off right around the 83 car. Oh, that's not the 83 car. I'm in the wrong wreck here. Let's go back a little further.
Looks to me like Jack Walls just tried to squeeze Anders down too far going into the tri-oval.
Yeah, we're going to take another look at it here, see if we can get a better angle here. You see Jack, like you said, kind of coming down. A little bit of net code, but yeah, I think they're just kind of starting to get a little bit too tight on one another. And then once again, just unfortunately, a lot of these cars right in the path. You see Matt Wagner there, Eric Schaus right there. And then there's Gary Corley as well. So those that got through, though, Thaddeus McMurray, Yari Brubacher, Joseph Morales, they were all able to sneak by there. And then we mentioned for the Lucky Dog side of things, Nick DeGroot does a really good job here of picking through on the inside line to make sure he avoids it. Has a little bit of a close call there with Gary Corley for just a moment. But I believe that should get Nick back onto the lead lap here as we'll jump back live. And sure enough, he just swung around the pace car to put himself back on the lead lap. And the crazy part is here, Steve, with him getting back on the lead lap, that's going to put him up to 5th position with all the attrition we've had here tonight at Kansas.
It's pretty crazy.
So I think now fuel question marks are all out of the window. I think Craig is good to go to the end, as is the rest of the field. However, some strategy coming along here, though. Joseph Morales in that number 60 car, he pitted there, put some tires, I believe some tires and fuel on that. Maybe fuel, maybe just tires, not sure. He's going to restart third, but he's going to have a little bit of fresher rubber than those guys. Not sure if it's going to make a difference or not, but I mean, it could allow him to hold the lane a little easier, maybe try to kind of fight that dirty air a little bit as well. So we'll definitely have to keep an eye out for him to see what he can have happen. And same thing goes for Yari Brubacher, also pitting under that yellow as well. And like I said, though, for Nick DeGroot here, I think we'll see him probably same thing. He'll probably just top out, or duck in here and get some tires as well, because he's going to be at the back of the field anyway. But he's going to prove me wrong and stay out, because that seems to be the way things go here with me.
I'm showing 5 cars on the lead lap.
Yes, so yeah, we currently have 5 cars, Steve, on the lead lap here. Craig Forsyth, Thaddeus McMurray, Joseph Morales, Yari Brubacher, and Nick DeGroot. And then our Lucky Dog battle is going to be now between, I believe, Charles Teed in the 50. Hopefully Charles Teed in the 50. Actually, I don't see him on track at the moment. Where are you, Charles? Or is that timing and scoring glitch on my side here?
He's definitely on the track. I'm not sure where he is.
Yeah, his timing and scoring is not updating for me at the moment, but actually no, I'm just showing Charles Teed retiring from the event, Steve, at least on my screen. Not sure if it's a connection issue or if something happened that I'm missing, but it looks like I'm showing him at least out on our timing and scoring, which is going to put Gary Corley as the only driver 1 lap down as he just rolls out of pit road. Everybody else from Jeff Hysong on back are 2 or more laps down here. So,
Charles Teed had he got a disconnect. He's back, but
just to make matters from bad to worse for Charles here, that lap 1 incident, and was in the spot to have a chance to get back on the lead lap, or at least be one of the only ones a lap down, just to have the disconnect happen. It's just hasn't been his night tonight, but Steve, lights are off on the pace car. We're going to restart this thing with 16 to go. So now the question is, can anyone find a way to get around that LMCgear.com IndyCar of Craig Forsyth, or is it going to be 2 in a row for that number 27?
Let me make it easy for you, Gael. No. Nobody is getting around Craig Forsyth.
Yeah, well, we'll see. So like I said, the 2 potential question marks, I don't know if it'll be enough to kind of outweigh the clean air in the inside line, but like I mentioned, Joseph Morales, Yari Brubacher, they both pitted. They do have fresh tires, so we'll see what they can do. If those tires maybe help, like I said, maybe help fight that dirty air, they can get maybe a little closer to Craig and make a late move on him. So like I said, this has definitely been an attrition one here tonight. Like I said, only 5 drivers here on this lead lap. And I think it's actually a really great call by Nick DeGroot to stay out, because he's actually going to restart here in about the 6th position with only Jeff Hysong to get around. So we're going to watch from the back of Craig Forsyth here as see how the reaction time goes for these guys behind him, because again, that's going to be their best chance as Craig gets a great jump here as we get back to green here. 16 to go.
I'm curious to see what happens from second on back.
Yeah, so right now Thaddeus is still holding that spot with ease. I say it's right now a pretty tight fight between Joseph and Yari. I say that's going to be the fight to kind of who has the first track position with the fresh tires. But this is a good opportunity for Thaddeus here. If he can maybe time this roll back a little bit, he's got no pressure from anybody behind him at the moment. Try to time this run here, I think, coming right out of turn number 4 and try to see if he can do anything to jump around that number 27 car. But right now, I say Craig's still holding pretty solid here. And that spot, though, behind for 3rd and 4th. Say add Nick DeGroot to the mix here because he's going to jump after these guys as well. Just got that lucky dog. And he's going to see if he can find a way to get around the 2 of them and make Craig have to sweat a little bit more, too.
Yeah, he just took advantage of the draft and pulled himself into 4th place with a pass on the inside.
Oh, yeah, look at that. He cuts, say you saw the 60 guy, I think, got a little bit tight there, and Nick's able to cut right underneath there. And he's going to jump up into 3rd here in no time. So say he's got time to try to make something happen, but this could just be, honestly, maybe a damage limitation race. But look at that. As soon as he tried to look to the outside, Thaddeus like, yeah, no, you're going to let me have that spot. If anybody's going to run that 2nd spot, that's going to be me right now. So we'll see what Nick's response is going to be. He's going to drop to the bottom. You look at the Craig having to protect here. These guys are starting to get very dicey once again here as we're going to be down to 12 to go at the line.
Yeah, and that was a difficult spot for Thaddeus to be in right there because if he goes to the outside, then he's leaving the inside open for Nick. If he goes to the inside, then, he's getting a little bit of the arrow wash and giving Nick the chance to get by him on the outside. But now Nick is in 2nd place. I still don't think he's going to be able to make the pass, but if anybody in this league can do it, it's Nick DeGroot.
Yeah, and I think he's already starting to try to work on what he can do to make that pass happen. You see, he's kind of iterating high. He tucks it in low to grab the draft and try to peek right back up here. You see Matt Wagner, he's going to drop to the apron and let the leaders fight it out here. Oh, close call there for a second there. But yeah, so I think, Nick is working on the move that he needs to do to try to win this race here. And so this is, I think, the one thing that Craig is going to be worried about here is we got 10 to go here. And then we also have a great fight for that 3rd position as they run. It's been bouncing between Yari, Joseph, and Thaddeus, so we'll see who grabs that spot. But right now, though, there goes there goes Yari jumping to the top side. Oh, has he got Gary Corley running the inside line? That could have been an opportunity for Nick, but oh man, that was very tight there. As Craig had to make a late move there, I don't think knew for sure where Gary was going to go. And was able to just squeeze in front of Nick DeGroot and then cut right back down.
Man, that was a real scare.
That was probably one of Nick's best opportunities. If he could have found the opportunity to jump right underneath Craig there, that could have been the move for him to win that race. So great job by Craig to realize what was happening and be able to protect that spot at the same time. But they're ticking down fast here, Steve. We're down to 8 to go.
Things are going to get real dicey up here, I think.
Yeah, I say more so than they already are. That's the wild part about all of this. So I say right now it's still Craig Forsyth, but you can see again Nick's doing everything he can. He can get just a nose ahead there as they enter turn number 3. And that's the other thing that Craig, he can't feel comfortable yet because if we do get that potential late yellow, if it happens at just the right time, it could show Nick DeGroot as our race leader. We've seen it happen before, but right now you can see and the other thing that Nick's got to be careful about right there is if he tries to make those big moves is at some point somebody's going to try to fill that second spot on the inside line there. As we saw, Joseph Morales was just about to get there. Again, he's got fresher tires, so he might be able to hold on to that dirty air a little better as we got 5 to go, Steve.
Yep, and if I'm Joseph Morales, that's where I want to be.
Oh, was Joseph flirting with that white line there, Steve, just trying to get as much clean air as he could, but I think you see right there, lost some momentum, had to probably roll out of it just a teeny bit. But man, Craig and Nick are going at it here. I think what we're going to see is once we get to about 2 to go, 1 to go, if we can get to that without a yellow, I think that's where Nick's going to have to just squeeze Craig as much as he possibly can, just to try to throw him off his game. But however, we're not done here because here comes the 156 of Scott Rankin. And that could have been another sketchy spot there. But you see Scott, same thing, drops to the apron as soon as the leaders got to him. So they're going to continue to fight it out here. Going to be 3 to go at the line.
Gary Brubacher tried to take advantage of that and went 3 wide very briefly. Didn't work out for him, but here he goes again.
And I'm saying this might be a move for Yari. Well, it may not be the one move to try to win the race, but it could be a move that still allows him to grab a top 3 because he's going to be able to build that momentum and try to at least get further along than maybe the inside lane that we talked about with the 60 of Joseph Morales. So that's what these guys are doing. They're all trying to figure out what's going to be where's the right place to position your car here on these last 2 laps here. So right now, say Craig, I mean, he knows his job. He's just got to hug that white line, make no mistakes here. But you see Nick DeGroot trying to find the right move to be able to try to see if he can swing around that 27 of Craig Forsyth and snag that win away.
And Joseph Morales working the bottom line.
And then I'll say again, I think fuel out of the question with that caution. So I think at this point it's pretty much who can get to the line first, as we have the white flag is out. Say right now it's going to be between Craig Forsyth, Nick DeGroot, Joseph Morales, Yari Brubacher, and Thaddeus McMurray. And I say right now, Craig in that catbird seat, but you know that Nick's going to try to do anything that he can to try to win this race. He's going to tuck late out of 4. He's going to try to get that slipstream off 4 through the front stretch. It's going to be tight, Steve, but Craig Forsyth going to hang out and get the win. And that battle for second position, I think Yari Brubacher may have just edged out Joseph Morales. We'll have to double check on that one. It's showing on this timing and scoring that it was indeed Yari. We'll pull up our final standings to be certain of that. But man, attrition-filled race, but what a fight there at the end. Craig Forsyth able to protect that inside line and get the win here tonight at Kansas.
That was a close finish too.
That Nick definitely gave it his all there, and it definitely was close there. So we'll see. Yep, Craig's got enough fuel here to do some celebration as well. And so while we watch Craig celebrate, we're going to pull up our final results as well. And the interval of the win is 13 thousandths of a second, Steve. And then that battle for third and fourth, Yari does get the spot by 5 thousandths of a second over Joseph Morales. Thaddeus McMurray rounds out our top 5. And then so we talked about attrition filled. 6th position, 2 laps down, Luis Gonzalez, Jeff Heisong, Eric Schaus, Matt Wagner, Gary Corley, our top 10. And then 11th on back, you've got Anders Arhus, Scott Rankin, Charles Teed, Jack Walls, Jim Brooks, Alec Coates, and Eric Peterson. Well, that was a wild one there at the finish there, Steve. So, we got to start off with, we'll wait, try to get everybody on in here. So I think we're still waiting for Yari to poke on in to be able to get it start off with him with our 3rd place interview. And I think, let me see if Yari's poked in yet. Not yet. So we're going to go out of sequence here. We're going to start with our 2nd place finisher of Nick DeGroot. And then we will switch things over to hopefully our 3rd place finisher, because I say we still want to make sure that we also get Yari as well, as a great result for him. But I say we're going to go a little bit off sequence here, Steve. We're going to start with Nick DeGroot in that number 89 machine. And I mean, you started from pole, Nick. You were controlling the race that first run. Then you kind of the pit stop cycle happened. Craig jumped in front of you, and so you kind of got a taste of your own medicine there, being kind of stuck with him protecting that white line. But then, I mean, unfortunately, that big incident, but worked out as a whole. I mean, it worked out pretty well for you because you were able to just stay just the 1 lap down, and then from there able to get that lucky dog, get back into the thick of things. And I mean, you made quick work to go after Craig there. And say if there was anybody who's probably the most nervous to have in his mirror, it was probably going to be you. And I'll say it was just a couple, I say less than 200ths of a second there between you and Craig there at the line. So, I mean, just take us through the recovery and kind of just what you had to do throughout the race here tonight, because obviously a lot that was going on here.
Yeah, I was hoping it would be more like Las Vegas. So, I win the pole, I lead most of the race ends, I win. But this one was pretty eventful. We led the first portion of it, the 50 or so laps there. And when we got into the green flag pit stops, I was probably a bit too conservative entering pit road. But I'd rather be conservative than speed, especially here. You saw how tricky it was. Jack, he was having an awesome run and ended up wrecking, entering the pits with me and Luis. So that was really unfortunate. But yeah, still almost got Craig. But after that, I was just kind of saving fuel and thinking, okay, if there's a caution, maybe I can jump him in the pits or get him on strategy here through whatever the green flag run brings us. And then Alec loses it right in front of me, which happens. The car's real loose here. We're all up on the weight jacker in the pack. And I go to try to avoid it. And I don't know if I'm the one who sent him back the right way or if he overcorrected and that's what caused that. But either way, I'm on the brakes and the guys behind me just did not have enough time and caused one heck of a wreck. But at that point, I think this is the key to where we ended up was that car was bent on every corner, and I still tried my best to limp it back to the pits. I had the wheel cocked all the way to the right. I was crabbing. I was using the brake and throttle, downshifting, and somehow got that thing back to the pits, which got it so we could only be one lap down instead of two, which would have been probably just too much to come back from. But being that one lap down, being the only car one lap down, we kind of just rode there and waited for the inevitable, and a wreck happened again. We got our lap back, and then the show was back on. I don't know what much else I could have done to Craig there. I would have liked to have laid back more, get a bigger run, but with those guys right behind you chomping at the bit, you can't do that or you're going to end up third or fourth. So I did about as much as I could there. 13 1,000s. That's got to be the 50th time I've been in a photo finish with Craig. So yeah, he earned that one. Good win from him.
Yeah, we remember that you had a number of finishes like that.
Oh yeah. Just 2 weeks ago, I think Dark Horse. We had a photo finish like that where again he beat me. So I got to work on that.
Wasn't it like your first 2 or 3 races in the league were all like photo finishes like that?
Oh yeah, and Craig was one of those too. I've been a photo finish with Craig in the Indy 500. I've been photo finished with him in the off-season races we sometimes do. Dark Horse Area 51. I always find him at the end of these things.
So I have a question. When you made that first green flag pit stop and Jack Walls spun out in front of you, did you have to like hesitate or back off?
Well, I couldn't really back off because I had Luis right behind me, but the thought went through my mind, if he comes back across the track here, what do I do? Do I bail into the grass and ask for a black flag? And those thoughts were, or black flag cleared, and those thoughts were going through my head, and I'm like, and thankfully the car stayed over to the left there, so we didn't have to make those decisions. But yeah, that was a moment, especially I have 3 screens, so even before he came into my field of view, I could see him over to the left, and that was very nerve-wracking.
Oh yeah, I mean I've had moments like that, especially at the super speedways, and your first instinct is to get off the gas and get as far away from where that car looks to be headed. So
yeah, but on pit road you're kind of trapped.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, that was definitely a very scary moment for you. I say it looks like post race too. You had Luis messing with you at the end there as well, just to say probably a little bit of let's say that's like, hey, we made it to the end, and say give each other a little bit of grief there. It looks like.
Yeah, I definitely had the thought. I'm like, wait, did I do something to upset Luis? So I'm like, no, he's just messing with me. So I had to kind of double check there, make sure I didn't upset him. But no, we're good.
Yeah, and I don't think we saw anything between you guys. So he was definitely up there as well, say putting on a really good fight with you all as well. But yeah, I mean, just a great recovery, like I said. And then, but like I said, it sounds like probably some of the hardest driving you had to do was just to get that thing back to the pits to keep yourself just the one down. Like I said, I think that definitely may be one of the moves of the race to get you back into the chance to win that one. So, yeah, just hats off tonight, Nick, and definitely want to give you the floor here though for any thanks and shouts you'd like to give for that runner up tonight.
Yeah, Factory Back Motorsports, as always, giving me great cars. And everyone that supports this team with motorsport.com, CoveyMoore.com, Cowboy Ship, Blaze Pod, DeGroot Automotive, U-Haul, and Detailing. And yeah, that's a good one. We got away with one tonight. I know that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's a huge damage limitation for what could have been. So, yeah, great job though tonight, Nick. Like I said, to recover like that's very, very impressive. So, I'll say enjoy that one. I'll say I'm sure you'll kind of have to take a breather after that, but look forward to seeing you the rest of the season, man.
Oh, for sure. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, great job.
Thanks.
All right, Steve. So now we're going to jump from second to third here, going a little bit off order, but it's all right because as long as we get an interview with Yari, that's what we're looking for. So we're going to pull in Yari there in that number 49 because Yari, I mean, that battle for third there, I mean, it was going to be a tight one because you had second, third, fourth, fifth. I mean, we felt pretty confident that Craig was feeling pretty good up front there on the inside line. Nick was working that middle groove to try to find a way to leapfrog around him. But then you and Joseph and Thaddeus, I mean, you guys were in your own little dogfight there to try to kind of stay in the best position you could to be able to get the best result you guys could. I mean, that was definitely a great fight for you. And the one thing I want to ask you about is I believe you pitted on the yellow as well to get a little bit of fresher tire. On that last run, did it feel like those tires helped at all to maybe try to fight the dirty air a little bit? Or I mean, take us through those last laps there. Uh-oh, I don't know if we have Yari here, Steve.
Or if he is here, something's not working.
All right, well, we're going to go full out of sequence then. Yari, definitely, if you're around, definitely don't go anywhere because we'd love to be able to hear from you because I say you always want to get our top 3 drivers here. Yeah, well, actually, I think he just jumped out, so we'll give him a second here, Steve, see if he can get things back. But, I mean, a great run for Yari. They started 13th, finishes in 3rd. However, right behind him, we mentioned the movers and shakers from the race. Joseph Morales finishes in 4th, plus 11 for him, plus 12 for Thaddeus McMurray in that top 5. So all those guys doing a great job to work themselves up through the field. So, all right, we're going to try one more time. We'll bring Yari back in here and see if we've got a microphone back. You got us this time, Yari? Fortunately, doesn't look like it still. But keep messing with the Yari. Say we'll get you here shortly. You'll say just like send me a message or someone, that way we can get you squared away. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go off sequence here, Steve. We're gonna jump over to our race winner in that number 27. Makes it 2 in a row here, Craig Forsyth. And Craig, I mean, so Steve and I are talking that first run. Was that basically a hey? I'm just going to save fuel off you guys while you guys run 2x2 and kind of try to make the long run overcut, if you will, pay off. Because, I mean, you did exactly what you needed to there. You were able to save fuel, run a couple laps more, and then jump in and come out in front of Nick and company. And then from there, I mean, you're in a good spot there, and you're kind of ahead of the chaos behind you, it looked like.
Oh, that was just lucky to stay ahead of that stuff. That's for sure. No, it was exactly the plan. I wasn't happy with my qualifying, of course, but I knew I needed to get up to the front as fast as possible to get ahead of. I mean, it's such a fun track to drive, but it's you've got to be inch perfect, and the net code can't be happening. All the usual stuff because there's no room for error at that track. And I just, as soon as I got up there, put it into full fuel save. And it was unfortunate that first caution came out. It was like, I think 4 or 5 laps too early to be able to 3-stop to the end from there. So no choice but to keep going. And then, the plan was to try and jump the guys in the first pit stop. I didn't expect to jump both Jack and Nick, but so that was a pleasant surprise. But yeah, no, and it worked out perfectly because from there it was just stay in front. Even on the last one where I knew some of the guys would be coming in for new tires, it was like, no, track position's too important. Need to stay at the front.
Yeah, and you definitely did the right thing there. And I want you to know that while Gael may be famous for the commentator's curse, I do not have it. I called that you were going to win.
Oh, thanks, man.
You're welcome.
No, it was a good race. I need to go back and see some, because there were cars. Some of those wrecks looked like they were pretty epic.
Oh,
there was, yeah.
There was one. I'm totally baffled by it because it was a huge wreck coming off of turn 4, and it looked like the wreck, had kind of settled out, and then there's like a second pack of cars that came up. And I'm like, these Indy cars don't usually arc or brake. but they came flying in there. So there was like a second pack of cars that got into that wreck.
Just crazy. Yeah, and Nick and I were talking. It's like, can't believe the number of times that him and I, photo finish across the line. He pushes me every time we're 1-2. That's for sure.
He mentioned that also, and that was, oh my God, that was epic. I mean, I felt like, well, I kind of said at the end, if there was anybody in this field that was going to be able to get you, it would be Nick. So you did a tremendous job just running your line down there.
Yeah, I think I got lucky that the top line guys never decided to get together and just choo train their way past me. They seem to be very content to fight at all times. So I was more than happy to encourage that.
How big a scare was it when you were, I don't know, a few laps to go, and I forget who it was, but somebody was in the low line and you weren't expecting that they were going to be there?
Oh yeah, no, I got that was Gary, and yeah, no, he called it out. I think like he said he noticed what was about to happen at the last instant, so that gave me the heads up to start looking ahead. But yeah, no, I needed to go high, and the only way to go up there was I think it was Nick that was above me at the time. Nick knowing that I needed to go up there, so I think Nick rose up to the third line to let me up to the second line so we could get around. And that's heads up driving, not yay for me for getting around it, but that's way more on the on the second and third place guys to realize what's going to happen, what needs to happen to the car ahead to not have something bad happen.
Yeah, definitely, and very gentlemanly driving.
That's this league, man.
So the other question I got for you though is, before that final yellow came out, when you had the mixed strategy of drivers taking tires or staying out, how tight were you going to be possibly on fuel if that ran out from that yellow there, but prior to the last yellow, I should say, if you had to run that run out all the way to the end, were you good to go on fuel, or were you going to have to try to do a little bit of saving here and there to get the number there? Because it looked like it was going to be right on the edge of that fuel number.
Yeah, no, I was from the final pit stop. I was making the fuel number. I was going to have I think just over a liter left, based so I was counting down the until we were going to be at 10 or 12 to go. I think was before was going to be able to go back up into map 1. So
okay,
once the caution came out, I was good to go by liters and liters of fuel.
Yeah, so you were actually saving while you were leading as well. Then it sounds like, yes, during that run. Wow.
Basically, at that point, you're using your fuel maps to defend.
Yeah, and that's something Steve and I were talking about. I think actually you mentioned, Steve, too, is like if there's anybody who can work fuel numbers while leading, it was you. And and that was the thing, is like I honestly wasn't sure, because we were talking too, is basically what's the most efficient way of saving fuel? Is it map 1 and kind of doing throttle control? Is it map 2, 3 through 5? And staying full throttle, but using obviously the draft and the lower fuel maps to save fuel, but while being full throttle. So to be able to do what you did while leading to make your fuel number, I mean, just hats off, man. That's extremely impressive. Like I said,
I have to thank my wife as well, because I called her over for the what was going to be the final 10 minutes there, because I needed my throttle position to be at a specific percentage or less. So she was telling me anytime my throttle position was anytime I was pushing the throttle too much.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
And see, and that's the thing. That's what makes these guys so ridiculous, Steve. I mean, for me, it's like, okay, you're leading. Well, what do? Foot to the floor. Like that's where my brain would go on that. So to do what you did tonight, Craig, like I said, pick up a temp crew chief there. So it sounds like you might have to owe her a bit of your trophy there as well tonight. But man, just awesome job tonight, man. Definitely want to let you have the floor here. So obviously you did one of your shout outs there, but definitely want to give you the floor though for thanks and shouts for your win here tonight.
Oh, I got to thank Jim over at LMC Gear again. It's unfortunate he wasn't able to get his rig back together, so he's had to miss 2 weeks in a row now. But he's aiming to be on the track for tomorrow night for Dark Horse. But yeah, just unfortunate that he missed this one as well. But all the boys over at lmcgear.com, everyone at Area 51, and well, you guys at Green White Checker. And again, I say it every week. This is a great bunch of guys. Come join us on Tuesday nights. We like each other. We drive hard. We have the occasional sad panda wreck, but we like doing what we do.
Yeah, and I mean, it definitely shows you guys put on great shows week in and week out. So, say congrats, Craig. I say go enjoy that one. We're gonna grab Yari in because we weren't able to get him a minute ago, but we're gonna grab him as well. So, enjoy this one though, and look forward to racing with you tomorrow, and then look forward to seeing you on track next week, sir.
You bet, you guys. Stay safe.
Yep. Congrats on the win.
All right, so we're gonna look. Like I said, we're going a little out of order here. We're gonna grab our third place finish now. So, like I said, we got to make sure we get everybody, and so we're gonna grab our third place finisher there in that number 49 of Yari Brewpacker. And Steve, I'm looking at the last lap here, and back and forth between. So it has Joseph passing Yari, Yari passing him back, Joseph passing him back. They went back and forth for who was in third position. It looks like about 7 or 8 times there on that final lap, with Yari getting that spot by, if I remember right, 5,000ths of a second there. But I mean, just first off, I mean, awesome job, Yari, tonight getting that top 3 result. But then I got to ask you about the pit strategy there. Did it feel like that? Did that help you at all with the fresher tires at the end to maybe try to navigate the dirty air a little bit better?
Yeah, I think now the microphone is working.
You are good.
Yeah. We can
Very nice. Yeah, that was really wild at the end. I wasn't sure if we are going to wreck or not. That was really close. I had Nick in front of me and Craig, and they were giving dirty air, but the tires felt quite good, and I think it was definitely an advantage a little bit. But it was just very difficult to get past the two of them if they were like side by side, and I had to make it 3 wide. I tried with like 3 laps to go, and I saw Nick coming closer and closer, and then I decided I was gonna go for P3 and not not try to advance and wreck in the process.
There was, I think, one time in the closing laps where you got on the inside of Nick, and it looked like you had a shot at maybe grabbing second place. And I'm wondering, what kept you from being able to complete that pass?
Yeah, I thought about it, but I decided against it because I wasn't sure if I was gonna be able to stick it down there, not drift up. And I thought if I drift up, I'm gonna fall back to maybe P5 or something. I was hoping Nick would feel maybe the dirty air a little more, and he would maybe try to get a run out of on Craig coming out of the corner. But he played it quite well, keeping high in the corners and giving me the dirty air.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd say it was a really good race for you. It's like jumping from 13th to 3rd there to throughout the race. And I'm saying, you had a couple close calls yourself. I'm trying to remember if you had to work your way back up from any incidents or not, but you had a couple spots where you had to kind of pick your way through some of those incidents as well. Just because it was, I'll say the incidents that we did have, they took out big chunks of the field. How tough was it to navigate some of those incidents to try to make sure you weren't involved in or at least kind of minimize how much damage you might get from those?
Yeah, throughout the first half of the race or so, I just tried to stay at the back because I saw how wild they were racing up front, and I decided I was not going to be a part of it. I actually finished the race with 0x, so I didn't get caught up in any incidents. But I was sideways sliding everything. I don't know how I got an X for that. Didn't get an X for that. I think it was at least 3 times. It was very close. I saw cars go ahead, right in front of me, hit the wall, go airborne or whatever, and somehow made it through. I don't know exactly how, but definitely helped because at the end I also had my fast repair left, so I knew if I was gonna wreck, it was not gonna be that bad, but I still didn't want to have to use it.
No, that's, I'd say, to be able to say with as an attrition filled of a race as it was tonight, to, like I said, to come out of this one with no incident points and the fast repair still in your pocket as well. I'm gonna say that's a pretty much a success as well there, because again, yeah, you may not get the win or second, but again, we talk about bonus points, and actually I think I can pull up what those results would be for tonight with that result. Let me check that real quick. I can tell you.
Yep.
Craig was able to stay incident free as well. But yeah, so looking at the point side of things, the only difference, of course, being laps led there, you weren't able to get a bonus point on that. But yeah, Nick DeGroot with his bonus points gets 43 points, whereas you got 41 points on yours, let's say. So I mean, and that's normally, I think, at least a minimum of a 5-point difference. So you got 6 bonus points, though, for keeping that car clean from start to finish. And then plus, I believe there's one more, for finishing the race as well. So to be able to get the 6 bonus points over Nick's 3, I mean, that kind of shows keeping that car in one piece and keeping it clean to the end definitely goes a long ways as well.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't want to risk those 5 points. Even if it meant I was going to finish a spot lower in the standings. It's definitely important to get those bonus points. Try to get to the lead when we were like maybe 20 to go or something, but I just couldn't get around Craig to the lead at the line. So in order to save a little fuel, that was shortly before we had the last caution. I backed out of it then and decided I was not going to go for that point.
Yeah, well, so don't feel bad, though. Not really anybody was able to get around Craig tonight once he got to the front. But just an awesome job, though, tonight, Yari. Like I said, able to work your way from the back to the front and get that top 3 result. Like I said, I'm definitely glad we're able to pull you in and get an interview. So just definitely shout out. And I was saying, actually, I want to give you the floor here. Any thanks and shouts that I could give for that 3rd place tonight?
Yeah, I wanna mainly thank the other drivers around me at the end. I was quite sure we were gonna wreck, and how we didn't. I think everybody showed nice discipline there, and thanks to everybody participating in this league.
I'll say enjoy this one, Yari. Like I said, a great result once again. Look forward to seeing you on track again next week, and we'll see if we can get another top 3 interview with you.
Yeah, we'll see. See you guys.
Great job, Joey.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, Steve, that is our 3rd place finisher there tonight, Yari Brupacher. Like I said, we're a little out of order there, trying to get all of our interviews in, and some technical difficulties with Yari, but we were able to get him once it was all said and done. But it's Craig Forsyth getting that win over Nick DeGroot by, I think it was 13 thousandths of a second, and then 5 thousandths of a second between Joseph and Yari there at the end as well. So just a great job, all those guys fighting out there at the end. But man, that was a wild one here tonight, Steve. I'll say only 4 incidents in the race with 125 laps, but just the thing was the incidents that happened were massive tonight.
Yeah, they were like the big one at Talladega or Daytona in the stock cars.
Yeah, exactly right. So, Steve, always a pleasure to have you in with me here in the booth. It was always fun to do these races with you. I'm saying they definitely put on a wild one here tonight as well. So, look forward to catching you in the future of the season. So, I think we still got about 7 more to go if my math is right. Yeah, I say it's always fun to do these with you. Definitely look forward to doing the rest of the season and many more to come.
Same here, Gael, and definitely enjoyed doing this race with you and just doing this race. Period. It was despite all the carnage, there was a lot of really great racing, a lot of give and take tonight, and I got to give a hand to these guys, and especially what Craig said. These guys can have a race like this and they still all respect and like each other. This is a great bunch of guys in this league.
Yeah, I think that goes a long ways, like you said, but from the camaraderie, of course competitive, but still a great group of guys all the way around. So everybody that watches, that supports us here at Green White Checker TV, as always, definitely want to thank you for everything. We had a lot of fun tonight. Hopefully you enjoyed this one as well. And then we'll be back again on Tuesday. We'll be back again on Thursday night for this Xfinity trucks or Super Speedway trucks. There we go. We're gonna merge them together there, and of course we're not back on Sunday because we got Super Bowls to watch. So we'll be back on Thursday. Then we'll have a night off, and then back on Monday, I believe, for the Next Gen series on Max Speed TV. So until then, have a wonderful evening, Steve. Thank you again as always, and as always, as we mentioned here, of course, as well. Hopefully, have a wonderful evening, and if you can, of course, stay safe. Until next time, have a good night.
Night, everybody. Hooday.